everyone. Welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting in another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about collecting goals going forward. So let's see. We had my man John in here in the chat, and I'm going to say right now, super disappointed in this person. Super disappointed. I'll explain why in just a second. Gordon, what is going on? Sure, talking about GTT out here. Sometimes life comes up, so hopefully everything's good with him. But why am I super disappointed in this guy? Because I started almost 2 minutes late, and he did not take the opportunity to shame me for being late. Slacker. Just a slacker. So there you go. This is what I was saying. Well, I mean, I left it out there for you, and you just didn't. You let it get by. You whiffed. Put it on the tee, and you whiffed. I don't know what to tell you. Exactly, first in the chat. There you go. So what are we doing tonight? We are going to be talking about my collecting goals, both for 25 and longer term, sort of. I have been. Anybody that's watched my channel over the last 4 or 5 years has seen I had this whole thing where I came up with a list of 50 comics. I tweaked that list multiple times during the 5 that I was going to try to get over 5 years. Ended up picking up 51 books that were on those lists. I tweaked that list a couple of times during that process of it's just rethought what I really wanted, what I didn't, and just kind of kept working toward it. I think I ended up with like 60 some odd books actually that were on my 50, and I didn't get them all, but some of them I just had decided weren't things that I was that interested in. But it had been a very focused goal, and I had, for the most part, not went off that list. Hey, he here remains. What is going on, sir? One of my members, so I should remember to do that before I forget later in the video. So we're gonna shout out my members right here real quick. Man, Old Wolf, still that Robin Tier, and then he remains along with Circumstances, Ben Compton, Blue Collar Dan, Lisa, Cliff, and Clyde all hanging out on the Titan tier. So thank you, sir. So I had done that, and I'd been very focused like on books that were on that list. For the most part, passing on any kind of, hey, J Hood, what is happening, sir? Any kind of things that, like, I picked up things that weren't on that list, but not very many. I mean, not very many that were of any kind of real value. And if you've been watching my channel over the last year, you've noticed I've talked a lot about where do I go from here. Is the 50, a big chunk of which is behind me. All of the books on the wall behind me, and including this one here, are all books that were on that list. And it's kind of like, okay, now what? It's been, I've tried to be very disciplined. I have tried. I'm very serious about sticking to my list. I did a pretty good job. I did a really pretty good job. Yeah, and I can understand that. Like, it's going to be a buyer's market probably for the next couple of years, it seems like. I don't see that turning around anytime soon, which is good if you're still trying to add, but not good if you're trying to, like, turn or if you need to, like, move some books or anything. But, like, most of the stuff that I considered I need to have this book, I have. So I've been wondering, like, where do I go from here? What do I just, I mean, it's not that I still want other books, but it's like, how do I do this going forward? And A Cards fan, what's going on? So I kind of went back to, and I did a video, similar places, collection, always price sensitive, so I ignore my priorities. If I see a good deal on something good, it's not a bad way to go about it. I've tried to do that within my priorities, like have a big enough list of potentials that I could do that within the potentials. In other words, like if something on my list was high, kind of ignored it and then focused on some other areas. But if you, like, one of the things I've said all along is, that I was like I had kind of 4 things that were part of my collecting: bats, spiders, female first, and Star Wars. Those were kind of the things that I collected. If you saw my trade, or my thumbnail, I kind of did that. There's an addition there that we're gonna talk about. There's a 5th thing that's kind of come up that I'm gonna try to do. So I just kind of went back to that, and I went, okay, under bats, what are the things I still need that I'm potentially willing to continue to try to collect? Big, small, whatever. And am I willing to potentially maybe push my boundaries a little bit on what I've been willing to spend on comic books? And because this is still the most expensive book I bought, and I bought it raw and not in that 9.8. And it's the only book I've spent more than $500 on. And I only spent 6 in my entire collection. So, but why? I'm not worried about diversification. I'm going to collect the things that I care about. Why would I go beyond that, I guess? I had tried for a while when the market was good, buying stuff to try to flip. In the end, I ended up getting stuck with some things because when the market started cooling that really weren't worth trying to flip anymore. And I kind of just was like, that's not really for me. I wasn't a very good seller. And yeah, so it's really, what do I want? What do I want to have in my collection? Not that I want to lose money, but I'm not super worried about, like, I mean, yeah, some of this is probably like buy what you love. So within my categories, I got some bigger. So instead of doing another 50 list of like 50 books, I had some categories of things that I want to get. And so we're going to go through these one grouping at a time. So underneath the bats, and off to the side, so I don't get like fade out. One of the things I've done, and I have a couple of them, plus I have the one that's like her first appearance in the Golden Age suit that doesn't have her on the cover, but the Catwoman Golden Age covers. That's something I want to continue to like add to. I think it's super fun. There's one behind me, obviously. That's her first cover on Batman. I have her last Detective Comics cover before she disappeared. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to continue. And about half of those are within the range I've currently been buying in terms of price. And the other half is not quite so much. So I might have to push depending on where I go. But I'm not like in a hurry. I'm not necessarily really trying to like complete that set. But it's things I wouldn't mind having. I'm thinking my hunt list of categories rather than, well, this is more of just a longer term, at this stage, it's longer term focus. But within these categories, I did come up with like a list of 10, but I'm not sure I'm super stuck on it, if we're going to put it that way. Golden Age Star Spangled, obviously, which is my Robin here, his first solo stories, first that they put him in. Like, those books are actually, for the most part, other than that one, pretty affordable for a Golden Age comic. So I may continue to work on some of those just because they're fun. Yeah, Batman one is not in. No, I'm not spending that kind of money. The third category, just Batgirls, Robins, Sirens. Fun. Like I don't have all the Robin first appearances yet. There's some. I have most of the like female, whether it be Batgirls or Sirens, but not all of the like female villains and stuff. So there's a few of those books that are still out there. Plus, those are characters that like I sometimes cover buy on. So I kind of just put that as a generic, like, yeah, if it's this group of Batman related characters I'm going to do. Obviously, I put fun covers on there, so that kind of just covers. It's really for these characters. I could have almost done it the same, but yeah, there's a cool cover that I want to get, and it's a reasonable price, then I might go get it. Like from that standpoint, some of the huge Catwoman's, I got a few of those. There's some other covers like that I wouldn't mind getting. Hey, Daymans, what's going on? And then the last category under the bats is just some art, and we'll like I have a couple of Batgirl pages. I don't actually have a Batman page of any sort. I don't have a Nightwing page. I have some Nightwing pages from Bruno Redondo. I don't have like Nightwing pages from any other runs. So those are things I wouldn't mind getting as well. So that's kind of where I did on the Bats. The Spiders is very similar. I've been working on all the MJ like cameos and stuff before first appearance. I need 2 more of those. Plus, there's like only like 5 total times that her or Gwen appear on the cover, under 100. So kind of trying to finish out, or is it? I think each of their first cover appearance, and then I think there's 4 more times. So that's something I thought would be fun, just getting all those early covers of those 2 characters. There's still some female firsts that I don't have, like female Spiders. Like I had at one point the Julia Carpenter. I traded that, and there's some other stuff in there that I need to that I want to finish up there. And villain keys, there's not many of the villain keys I really, really want, but there's a few. 1, 4, 3 is the first guess. And so there's a few of those that are on that kind of in the list. So that kind of makes a category. Then again, fun covers. There's some covers. I want to get finish the trifecta, the J. Scott Campbell, MJ, Black Cat covers that all took place. I want to get those. And there's a couple other things. And then art. I don't have a single Spidey related page at all. So that is kind of my goals under those 2 kind of bigger headings of things I collect that I'm going to go forward with. So there's no real specific books there. It gives me some flexibility. I do have some books in mind under all of these, but like it allows me a little more flexibility. Flexibility going forward. The next of my categories here, we'll go over here, is the female character stuff. I have a couple of Golden Age Wonder Woman books. I have a Sensation. I have a Wonder Woman. I've looked at a lot of those. There are a lot of them. There are a couple of the covers I really, really want that aren't within my historic price range, but there's a lot of stuff that's cool that is. So I'm probably going to continue to look and maybe pick up a few more of those. Just Golden Age Good Girl art, like this Planet Comics thing. Whoa. I have an Archie book, some of the Archies. So that's something that I'm open to continuing to see if I find deals and cool stuff. I don't know that I have a super specific list on that, but it is a category I'm willing to potentially add to my collection. Female first appearances. There's several female characters whose first appearances I still have not tracked down, whether they be some of the characters around Wonder Woman, whether it be a character I'm blanking on some of the ones like Rogue. I've never owned a Rogue first appearance. The Silver Age, Black Canary. That's a book that's kind of on my list. There's some other stuff in there that there's some other female characters whose first appearances I either don't have currently or I've never had that I wouldn't mind picking up. Obviously, anytime there's some fun covers of some more modern stuff, and then some art, mostly probably on that. Wonder Woman, but not necessarily only. So there's some other stuff there that I might be interested in. So those are the 3. The last category was Star Wars, and there's not a ton of Star Wars books I really want. I have a copy, obviously, of number 1. I have a copy of number 2, but I'd like to upgrade it. But there's not a ton of Star Wars stuff that I'm really I need to have that book. So the Star Wars series first appearances I don't have. The 40s when so all the Empire Strikes Back first appearances of Emperor, Yoda, a lot of those are around the Boba Fett book, but not only. Lando's the next issue is 43 instead of 42. And I was thinking Yoda was in. Anyway, there's a couple of those books. So upgrading my number 2. So those are things I wouldn't like to get. 5 is Wedge. Yes. So there's a few of those Star Wars Series 1 first appearances that I would like to get. Not all of them are super expensive. Most of them have come down considerably from where they were. A thing that I really didn't know that I could do, like probably the only fandom that I've like went crazy for. So you see it's Star Wars and One Piece. I think to my friend Cthulhu, who's collected some of these, is you can actually get the original Weekly Shonen Jump first appearances of the One Piece characters for relatively reasonable prices. Like, they're not super crazy expensive. And if there's one thing that I have fallen in love with as an adult that I love as much as some of the stuff I fell in love with as a kid, because obviously I fell in love with the Batman characters, Spider-Man, Star Wars, all of that stuff goes back to when I was a kid. It would be One Piece. One Piece is the one kind of thing that I've been reading it basically weekly since 2006 or 7. I don't remember exactly. Sometime fall, I think, of 06 is when I started reading that thing. I've watched most of that anime. I love those characters. And so, yeah, thanks to Louis, I have a whole long list of first appearances. So that's something I'm gonna put on my list. So I don't need competition. I don't need competition for these books. But those are some fun things that I made. Like, they're not cheap, but they're not crazy expensive. So that's on my list. I'm still looking for that first Ahsoka. It's come down huge from where it was at. I would like for it to come down a little more. I know there's going to be a season 2. We'll see. It's still a little beyond that like comfort zone for me. I mean, I don't think they're super easy to find, but they're not like crazy expensive. So, I mean, like the first Luffy, yeah, it's a pretty big book, but they're not insane. They're still all kind of in the range of stuff that I've spent before. There's no like $10,000 book in there. So, 35%. Well, yeah. And then again, art. I have a High Republic page, but I don't have any other kind of Star Wars pages or any of those characters. I don't know that I never tracked down like One Piece art. I don't think that's really a thing, but in terms of like actual pages, but yeah. And then of course, fun covers. If there's something fun that's related to those that I would be interested in tracking down. So those are kind of my big picture. Hey, Carlito, what's going on, sir? Cheers to you. Those are my big picture goals. Instead of doing a 50, I focus on those 4-5 categories, and like, okay, things within this category, things I'm going to look for. I did break down and sort of make a 2025 list from that of some specific books, some of just like, hey, I want to try to grab one here, and we're going to go through those in just a second. Yeah. No, Jason the Mark Spears. So let's do this. We'll reveal as we go through. So the first thing on my list it's something I've been chasing for a while, is a Scott McDaniel Nightwing page from that 90s run. You guys know how much I love that run. That was formative for me. Those pages are not crazy. I haven't really found the right page at the right price to this point. And I found a page that I probably should have done last year, and I didn't because I was trying to focus on finishing those books. So that's number 1 on my list. Now, number 2 on my list is going to come as a surprise because it is absolutely 100% out of my historic price range and my comfort zone. I probably will have to move some books in order to get this book if I end up pulling the trigger. But I decided, like, I was talking about female first appearances that I was missing, or just character first appearances that I was missing. And other than like some of the Golden Age, like first Spidey or some of the Golden Age Bat stuff, I have probably most of all my favorite characters at this point, except for when it comes to one group of characters. I have some of them. A couple of those books are behind me. So I'm putting, like, one of the things always held me back is it would have to be so low a grade for me to be able to swing it in any way, shape, or form. But I'm putting it on my radar and on my list. I don't know that I'll pull this off. And if I don't, I don't. But, like, so that I'm at least forcing myself to start to look, forcing myself to maybe see if there's a way I can make a giant size happen. Storm is probably my favorite female character outside of, like, Selena or Diana that you can't get, that I don't have her first appearance. And plus, I love Nightcrawler and Colossus are also in that book. So, yeah, that book has a lot of meaning to me. I never chased it early on, and then it got kind of out of my price range. I don't know that I'll ever be able to pull the trigger on one that's in my price range that is a condition that I'm actually willing to accept, but we will see. Because it's not that old a book that having like a 1, it's like, we'll see. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I decided to, like, put it out there into the ether and see if I can make it work. Everything up. Trying to add to the Golden Age Catwoman, not a big surprise. Trying to add to the Golden Age Wonder Woman, not a big surprise. Those are books that, yeah. That's been kind of categories that I've been chasing for a while. Second full appearance of Wolverine. We can talk about that. But it's definitely an early Wolverine. Let's put it that way, for sure. ASM 15. That movie just bombed, which I'm sort of thankful for. Why do I want ASM 15? It's not because Kraven means that much to me. It's because that is the first cameo of MJ, the first time she's mentioned. I'm trying to get all of those. I'm hoping that by fall, that book has come down enough that I can get where I want to be on that book. It's not that far from where I want to be anyway. I've seen some that were in the range right before the movie came out, or a few months before the movie came out. I'm hoping now that movie has come and went and bombed that I can get on one of those, and the market stays soft enough that I can get on one of those at a price that I'm happy with. ASM 38. That is the only other cameo MJ that I'm missing. So I have 25. So it's 15, 25, 38, 42, 43, whatever. Yeah. So 38 is the one I'm missing. So that is on my list for this year. The Oracle first. If you don't know us, you guys know I love Barbara. And I've never went after the transition following post the Killing Joke to becoming Oracle. So Oracle is first mentioned in Suicide Squad 23. We find out it's Barbara in 38, Suicide Squad 38, and then 48 and 49 is kind of her origin where they tell how she ended up becoming Oracle. So those 4 books, 9/8 are fairly expensive, but like really nice raw copies, that kind of stuff. If I look for those are pretty cheap books otherwise. So just finding the right deal on those 4. So obviously that's a whole big category. There's 4 books on one line, but they shouldn't be crazy expensive, particularly once you get below compared to the stuff above number 5 and up. So that's something I'm going to look for. I'm going to try to. I have this big long list. Check at least One Piece first appearance off, and maybe a couple of them. Probably going to prioritize like Zoro, Nami, Robin, some of the main Straw Hats before I prioritize Luffy. But we'll see. If I find a good deal on the Luffy book, I maybe do that, and that's the only one I do. So that is on my list. I talked about this book a minute ago, that Justice League 75. That's a book that you can get in a grade I'm comfortable for Silver Age for pretty cheap. So yeah, which is the first Silver Age Black Canary or the modern Black Canary. So the Golden Age Black Canary is considered her mom. Starting in the Silver Age is the current version of Black Canary that we follow. So that's her first appearance, and that book's pretty reasonable, way reasonable compared to like Black Canary's first appearance in the Golden Age. That is not. And then the Clone Wars is still on the list. It's been on my list for a long time. Still waiting to find the right deal. And honestly, like these are some things, I put these targets out there, but I'm way less attached to this list this year than I've been in most years. Like I decided to like, okay, if you really had to put like, what are you going to do this year outside of the McDaniel page and the Oracle stuff? I don't know. We'll see. But I did go on and make a 2025 list. We're almost at 30 minutes on this video. So, but yeah, I'm going to try to be a little more flexible, a little more open in the stuff I'm chasing this year. I did go on and like, okay, here's some priorities. But if I pick up a bunch of stuff and none of it's this because I find the right deals on things that are in these categories, then I'll probably be pretty happy with this year. So that's where I'm at. I have way less like books I need to have than where I used to be. So I'm pretty comfortable with being kind of flexible. So it's probably more really, it's still really more of these categories that I've talked about than it is that list of 10. But I did go on and make a list just to kind of in my own mind, like, okay, what are the things I really want to start like looking for specifically and seeing if I can find some deals on. But if I find other deals, I'm not going to be within the categories. I'm not going to be afraid to go that direction. So that is where I've kind of found to. I do think I would expect this to be, last year was a pretty big year for me in terms of books and money spent and trying to wrap up the 50. I don't think that, even though there's some really big books on that list of 10, I don't think this is going to be nearly as big a year. We'll see. It depends on how the year goes. But yeah, I don't anticipate going as hard on my collecting maybe ever again as I did this last year. It just depends. I mean, I'm going to be laid up for a while this spring, so I'm probably not going to make cons, which will also make it a little easier maybe to not spend some money. Maybe I'll make it to plan it. It depends on where I'm at. That'll probably be a last minute thing depending on where I'm at. Mobility wise when that sucker rolls around. We'll just have to see. So that is my video. That's my discussion. That's where I'm at. I'll be back tomorrow for whatever reports, and maybe we'll talk about this some more. Didn't look like you guys. So that's where the way I'm going with my collecting. I expect it to be a fairly slow year. I may, unless I end up diving into this One Piece thing, and then I may be like a bunch of those and not much else. We'll see. We'll see where things go. But and obviously, GSX-1 is a monster, and way out of what to this point I've been comfortable spending on a book. So it may mean if I decide to go down that road, it may mean flipping some books, including some of these books that like potentially are behind me or that were from that 50 at the very least. I don't know that I'd flip the books behind me, but certainly there's some other books from the 50 that I potentially would flip, knowing I could potentially get them back. Easier than if I flip 2 or 3 of those to get a GSX-1 in a trade or in a just flip the build equity, knowing that I would have a book that's that I could potentially do something with, and potentially over the next couple of years I could replace some of those. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. I decided to put a monster on the list, a book that I've always considered beyond my means on the list, and see what happens. I don't know. I don't know if that I will be willing to go to that link. Thanks, Carlito. Yeah, super happy with that statue. So I didn't put a statue on my list again for this year, although I have looked. I don't see one at the moment that I'm like, I need to have that. So, and they did their 12 Days of Christmas, and they didn't come out with another one that was like, I need to have that. So that makes me feel good. Flip the equity they give you. Yeah, and maybe that's what I do is like to get it down into a price range I'm comfortable with, have to flip a book or two to get it to where I want it to be. We'll see. We will see what happens. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. But like some of these books, I have thought about from the standpoint of, like I owned for a while She-Hulk #1. Now that book has come down considerably, so it'd be much cheaper to get now than when I got it and then flipped it. But I've owned the first appearance of She-Hulk. If I don't own it again, she's not a character that I'm like, I have to have that right now. So I will say one of the things I didn't really put on my list, but that I debated for a long time putting on my list is upgrading this book and trying to get that a little higher. I mean, she is one of my very favorite characters. So getting a little nicer copy of that certainly is on my radar, even if it didn't make my list. So we will see. We will see how the year goes. But yeah, a little more loosey-goosey than I've been. A lot more loosey-goosey in terms of what I'm specifically targeting than I've been. But I kind of like having the freedom and have a little more freedom to look for deals as opposed to I'm tracking this book. So, I mean, there are some books I'm going to track, but yeah, a little more play in terms of what I'm chasing specifically. So than I've been in the past. All right. We're past 30 minutes. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me as always. You guys are awesome. And with that, one last shout out to my members. Thank you all for the support. It definitely helps me keep this channel going and keep me motivated to keep doing all this stuff. The look back video will be out tomorrow. You did, Christina. You're coming in as I'm going out, but thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. And yeah, look back will be out tomorrow. If you're a member, you already have access to the look back video because it is posted and up for members, but it comes out at its normal time for everyone else at 11 tomorrow. So with that, we will catch you guys later. Oh, wait, I went the wrong way. I scrolled the wrong direction for the outro. That was the outro.